Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. I know I've been gone for just about 2 days and I do apologize for that because usually in the days where I didn't post a YouTube video, it's usually when I post those 1 million pack openings, but as you can see in December I haven't posted a 1 million pack opening because I've been saving up for the next update. And as you can see right here, the servers to Top Drives are dead. I wanted to boot up Top Drives because obviously, you know, I was going to record a video on Top Drives, but I couldn't log in for about the past half an hour. And this is really interesting actually, because this actually, although I can't log in, ties in very well to the topic of today's video. I think an update is coming, guys. I don't know anything, I haven't gotten anything official from Hutch, but I have a strong feeling that an update is coming to Top Drives, okay? And especially before ER, especially before GE, before the updates dropped, it was always Top Drive servers that went down. You guys, like, think about it, right? Always before an update, you experience more crashes than usual. The game just feels a bit more unstable, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe they're testing something with the servers, with the new update. I don't know, man, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that every time an update is close, I can't log into Top Drives. And it always takes turns. You see what I mean? Connection error, let's try again. And it always takes in turns in terms of regions. It's always like, oh, suddenly Asia can't log in, then Europe can't log in, and then now the United States or North America can log in. I remember a couple days ago, people in Discord were talking about how the European servers were down. And I was saying, oh, I can log in just fine, I'm playing clubs. And then I think the day before that, people were saying, oh, Asia was down. Well, now it looks like the United States is down as well. Or, well, NA, right? NA. North America is down. North American servers are down. This is confirmed because it's not only me, I was talking to Kevin. And Kevin said that, or Kevin, as I always say in my streams, and he said that his servers are down. And we're both NA. And I know I talked to Kelster, and Kelster, he's in the EU brackets, in the EU region. He can get in, he's working for him just fine. And someone else in Discord said that Asia was down yesterday, but he can get in now. So that's one thing. I feel like an update is close, and that's why, you know, we're seeing problems like this. But today's video is really going to talk about why I think an update is close. Well, first things first, before I got triggered into really getting anxious and excited, I was already feeling like this game was due for a third update, right? We get 3 updates a year. Last year we had the Renaissances, or the Renaissances. We had French, and then we had German, and we had Italian. We had French somewhere in February. We had German in July, early July, late June. And we had Italian, I think, somewhere around October. So now this year, we've only had 2. We've had GE, about the same time French Renaissance dropped, right? French Renaissance dropped late Feb. GE dropped early Jan. Late Jan. French Renaissance dropped late Feb. Early Feb. And then GE dropped, oh god, this isn't even math, I just can't think. GE dropped late Jan, that's right. And then we had ER, the most disappointing update in Top Drive's history, but in a long time at least. And that dropped somewhere around, I think it was September? Or was it late August? It was somewhere around then. And now we're due for a third update, and the end of the year is really closing in. Like, it's like 2.5 weeks away. And I'm really thinking that Hutch is going to stick to that 3 update a year. I feel like that is a goal that they had at the start of the year, that we need 3 updates for the game a year. And I think that makes sense, right? No way they go 3 updates in 2019 and only 2 in 2020. Like, I get the pandemic is a thing, but let's think about it. At the start of 2020, we were given the roadmap by Robin with how, you know, we have all these big plans, the RQ rescaling, and of course the retune feature, which we have yet to get. And how Hutch was also talking about how the Top Drives team has increased in size. So if you think the team has increased in size, you would think that the updates would come out at a more regular time, right? But we haven't really seen that this year. Now, you can't really blame the whole pandemic. I know people are really like, it's really easy to play the blame game on the pandemic and how it's slowing everything down. But when you think about it, games like Rainbow Six Siege, they've stuck to their 4 updates a year like they've had every year before. You know, games like Overwatch, you know, the pandemic didn't stop them. They had their Overwatch seasonal skin update, they had their Halloween update, their Christmas update, the archive update, the anniversary update, and the Lunar New Year update. you know? So productivity has been the same, and Hutch shouldn't be using the pandemic as an excuse, especially since the Top Drives team has increased. So because of that, I think that the guys are working super hard at Hutch to make that goal achievable and getting that third update before the end of the calendar year. Okay, so that's the first thing why I think, you know, we're due for an update. The second thing, and that's what really triggered me into thinking, oh, we're getting an update soon, is if you remember, I went super hyped on Spidas, the Nevada boss. When you beat him in the challenge on last week, he says, I lost, I've had enough, the dream is over. I've talked about this in the previous episode. The dream is over. You know, that could mean the American dream is over because we're opening the doors to a new update. Right? And that's why you haven't seen a 1 million pack opening from me in December this year. Half of it was because I'm saving for a new update pack opening, which is going to be massive. And if it's American, I'm going to be spending all 10 mil. At this point, it's actually 12.5 mil, so I'll be spending that. Actually, 11.5 mil. And I need to save a mil for upgrades. The other reason, well, you said the dream is over. The other reason is I've been saving the other cash so I could, well, I've been making cash from clubs. 50% is going into saving. The other 50% is going into upgrades. So I've been maxing out a lot of American cars, a lot of rares and super rares. Now I know what you're thinking. I've always specialized in American cars. It didn't take me. It's not like 2 weeks ago I started specializing in American cars. I always specialize in American cars. But you know me. I hate my super rares and my lower rarities. Well, that's what I've been focusing on. I've been maxing out the rares, the super rares, and super rares are really expensive to max, almost as expensive as ultra rares. So you know it's a big waste of money most of the time. But if an American update is coming, it's worth the investment in my opinion. And I've also been stockpiling some rares, so when I get those new super rares in, I don't need to fish for the prize boards. I can just get going right away, right? So anyway, so it was Spider's ending from last week's challenge that really got me hyped when he said the dream is over. So I went to see what he said at the start of the challenge, and Spider, what he said at the start of the challenge, before you beat him, he says, "Followed me back home? Well, I was born for battle." Well, that's pretty interesting. Why would he say followed me back home? Why would we follow a challenge boss back home? So where is Spida's home? Well, if you just check in the American single player where Spida is the boss, Nevada is his home territory. So could the next update be based in Nevada? Personally, I don't know, maybe, because that might be another hint, right? That's the only thing I'm getting from this opening text. Follow me back home. I'll put pictures here so you can see what he says, because if I don't put pictures, you're just gonna see me trying to log in. Oh, are we finally logging in into Top Drives? Fetching your garage and profile. I think servers are finally back up after so long. But he says follow me back home, Nevada, right? Oh, we are back in. We are back in. Okay, well look at that. So I'll get to what Harriet says later. But follow me back home, Nevada. So maybe I'm thinking maybe we're gonna get a Nevada themed update. Nevada Renaissance. I don't know what it might be called just yet, but maybe we might get some Nevada themed tracks. For American Dream, we got the Santa Monica tracks, but for this one, we might get maybe some desert tracks, like Grand Canyon, that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Nevada is known for, what's Nevada known for? Las Vegas. We might get like the Las Vegas strip drag, right? Down the city drag. That would be pretty cool. Or we might get, I don't know what else is in Nevada, Area 51, isn't it? So we might get some like military base style stuff. Maybe that would be cool actually. Military base. Military tracks, military racetrack. Oh, you know what's on every military racetrack? We've seen this in Top Gear and Grand Tour and everything. Airstrips, right? Airplane runways. We can maybe we might get runway drag strips or whatever like that. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool. Or like, you know what? It could be like a nod to the Fast and the Furious. I think it was like Fast and Furious Episode 6, where the runways seem to be going on forever. It could be like a Tesbo runway track where it's like a 3-mile drag or something like that. That would be pretty funny actually. But anyway, so those were Spida's openings and closings, right? Started off with follow me back home, while I was born for battle, and then when he lost, it said I've lost, I've had enough, the dream is over. So that's when it really triggered me, when he said the dream is over. I was like, oh, American update! But then the next part is the new challenge. This one right here is an American 80s challenge, and we get Harriet Brooks. over here, as you can see her name, and she is another consecutive. This is the second American boss we're getting in a row consecutively, and as you can see, she's the boss of New York. So it's pretty interesting. There's 3 American bosses in the game. Next week, what if we get the West Coast boss? I don't know her name, but what if, right? 3 American bosses in a row. Maybe next week is when the update drops. Who knows? I don't know. I'm super hyped about this. But once again, don't take my word as truth. Don't take it as the Bible, okay? And the Bible might not even be the truth for some people. I mean, it's questionable for me. But these are all speculations. But I do have my reasons for speculating. There's a lot of things that's leading me to speculate, right? So Harriet, at the start of this challenge, this is what she says at the end. At the start of the challenge, she says, I heard you beat Spider pretty badly. Now, that's really interesting that she referenced the American boss from last week. Because usually we don't get that. Usually they just say whatever the hell they want, these bosses. They don't usually reference a boss from the past. The only time we've seen in Top Drives another boss referencing a boss from the past would be regarding the weekend challenges, maybe. And that's usually because they're talking about Legrand. And they're also trying to hint at the special manufacturer. But that's the thing. Usually when we see text like this from bosses that calls back to other events, they're usually hints. So, at the start when she says, I heard you beat Spider pretty badly, that should be a hint, right? Why is she referencing the American boss from last week all of a sudden? I don't know, but that got things into third gear for me, right? And then now at the end, she says, heavy. Now, time to get out of the 80s. Now, at this point, when I finished the challenge, and if you guys are in my Patreon, you would know that I finished the challenge the moment it released. And I streamed it. I didn't record it, but I streamed it on my Discord channel. She says heavy. Now, time to get out of the 80s. Now, I'm trying to decode this, and this is what I'm gonna say. 1980s USA. What do I think of when I think of 1980s USA? I think of Florida. I don't really think of Nevada. I think of Florida. I think of Miami Vice kind of stuff. Now, Miami Vice doesn't really fit into an American update because when you think of Miami Vice, you think of a Lamborghini Countach, you think of cocaine, and you think of drug dealings and bad cop, good cop, and you think of the Ferrari Daytona. The Ferrari Daytona and the Countach were like the main 2 cars of that show, if I remember correctly. I didn't even watch the entire show. I've only seen a couple episodes of it. But that being said, right, I was thinking, okay, what other things were in the 80s? The Cold War? The drug war with Colombia? And I was like, okay, 1980s doesn't make any sense. I was thinking about 1980s for so long. And then I was thinking about, why 1980s? She just says the 80s. How about the 1880s? Now, the moment I thought about that, I got goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now just saying this. Because the 1880s is where things get interesting. That it might hint. This might be another hint to American Update. Okay, the 1880s. What happened in the 1880s? Here's the key word when it comes to America in the 1880s. Now, this is a bit of American history, but this all ties into Top Drives and why I think the new update is coming. Okay. Well, this is why I think the 1880s is so significant. Okay. Significant. Yeah, I thought I said insignificant. One word: immigration. All right. During the 1880s, there were 2 kinds of immigration going into, including or involving the United States. Immigration to the United States and immigration in the United States, or migration in the United States. Okay. So let's talk about what happened in the 80s. It was the start of the age of the immigration. Okay, it was the start of Ellis Island. If you know your American history, you would know that Ellis Island was a port in New York, and that was where European immigrants running away from disease and war and famine and all that wanted to go into the United States to start the American dream, basically, right? To start a new life. Now, here's the interesting thing. Ellis Island and immigration to the United States from Europe only started, the whole concept started in the late 80s, about 1888, 1889, but 1892 was when Ellis Island actually started. Now here's the thing, time to get out of the 80s. When she means time to get out of the 80s, I really shouldn't be focusing on the 80s, right? I should be focusing on what's past the 80s. Time to get out of the 80s and into the 90s. So time to get out of 1880 and into 1890s, the time of immigration and the time of Ellis Island and the time of Europeans moving to the United States. Now why this is so significant is because Europeans going into the United States, going from one place to the other, Europeans going into the United States is like saying ER, we're leaving ER, European Revolution, and we're entering the United States. Whatever American Dream Part 2, whatever they want to call it is. You know what I mean? You see what I'm getting at here? Am I being too extra? Am I thinking too much? I don't know. European Revolution going into the US, Europe going into the US. That's the first thing that really blew my mind. The second part was immigration or migration within the United States itself. Now this was mostly on about the American frontier, and that was when Americans wanted to move westward or inward into the country. So American frontier, I took advanced placements for American history back in high school. I used to know these really well, but now it's like faded away. It was like 4 years ago now when I took AP US history. But I have some notes here, and when it comes to the American frontier, here's the interesting thing. It ended, some sources say 1920s, and some sources say it was beginning to end around the 1890s. Once again, the correlation with the year, which really got me thinking, a westward expansion, right? So American frontier was basically a westward expansion, people moving west. Now what's interesting about this, and what I could find, the correlation with this and Top Drives, was the only boss that we haven't seen in the challenge yet is the West Coast boss, right? And since American frontier is westward expansion, we're jumping into the 90s, where people in the United States were moving to the West. Imagine if we entered the 90s, where we enter the West and we get the West Coast US boss next week. It's a lot to think about. There's a lot of things that I'm putting together, and honestly at the end of the day, I'm just incredibly hyped, and I really, really hope that there is indeed an update coming really soon. I think there is, and the fact that we just had the servers die right when I was recording is only solidifying that fact for me. Anyway, let me know guys what you think. Okay, I know this video is a bit strange, and this is me probably being, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much. I feel like I'm a conspiracy theorist on one of those history channels, but I don't know, man. I really think an update is coming soon. I hope so, because honestly, the main reason why I didn't compete in the McLaren P1 finals, I had a good hand. I had the right epics. I had the Lotus 250 Cup. I had the Lotus Evora. I had 2 legendaries. One was maxed. But I didn't want to compete because I was like, yeah, I have all these ultra rare fuses and I have a lot of it. Because if I go into filter, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about before I end the video, and I go into unlocked, as you can see, I have 54 ultra rare fuse. I could have competed. I could have maxed out those epics and won the P1, but I was like, if this update is coming soon, I want to save up my fuses. I want to max out the new cars. So I hope it's coming soon, because I kind of sacrificed the P1 in terms of, hype, going off the knowledge of Spider saying the dream is over. But with that said, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to know what you think about all of this. Do you think the update is coming soon? Or am I just crazy? Or am I both? I don't know. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm back with the Top Drives video. Sorry for taking a break. Shout out to this guy and his comment. I absolutely loved it. The fact that he was like, I have to resort to watching CMG videos. I'm sorry that you have to. He's a nice guy, but let's be honest, that guy knows nothing about Top Drives anymore. But anyway, hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out.